Hello, my lovely people. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about your skin and the problems that happen with your skin. In other words, I'm going to talk about the C word, cancer. And the bad thing about cancer, from my standpoint and what I'm going through. Excuse me, my nose is itching. As a child growing up in the 60s and 70s, we didn't know much about sunblock. We didn't know much about how damaging the sun could be to us. We didn't start learning this until in the 70s, and that's more like the late 70s. But back then, it was tan, tan, tan. So as a child in the 60s, I was outside day in and day out. Every chance I got, I was outside. I was riding my bicycle. I was doing something in the sun. And I constantly would get a sunburn across my nose. Needless to say, that's not good for you to have a sunburn every time you turn around. But I did and never thought a whole lot about it. Well, then in the 70s, when they rolled around and I was a teenager, it was, bake yourself in the sun. Brown skin was beautiful, which it is pretty. I love to look tanned. But the tan skin can be bad for you. And I just kind of ignored a lot of it, thinking, well, the sun's not going to hurt me that much. But then as I got older in my 20s, I had a grandmother who had skin cancer all over her face. She was constantly going to the skin doctor. And they were having to take it off. And they were having to, give her medicine to help kill it out. And her face was always scabbed up because of all the skin cancer she had. But hers was from being a child. I don't know how old she was when she got so many sunburns. I figured it's because she had to hoe cotton when she was a child. And, she was in the sun all the time. She had to help with the family farm and the money. And so her and her sisters always had to hoe cotton. Well, she had all this skin cancer, but she had one come up here on her temple, and that thing was that big around. It was an ugly, ugly sore, and it was bad skin cancer. And they cut that off, and they did a skin graft from her leg to her temple, and she had a big white circle of skin right there. It didn't have its own blood supply, more or less, when you get a skin graft. Sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. Hers, it was a live skin, but it was not pink like the rest of her skin. It was like scar tissue. Well, after I seen what she went through, and this was in my later 20s, I started wearing hats. I wore sun visor hats all the time to try to protect my skin. I wore a sun visor hat even when I went swimming because I did not want skin cancer like my grandmother had. Well, now we're skipping over to, I'm 59 years old now. I will be 60 in March. And I had a little bump come up right on the end of my nose. And if I can, I will put a picture of it in the middle of this to show you what my little bump looked like. It just looked like a clear little bump. But I noticed I thought at first it was a pimple, and I noticed every time I tried to doctor it, it didn't go away. Or if it did go away, it came right back. So I decided I better go have it checked. So I went to a dermatologist to have it checked. And the doctor that I saw said right off the bat she thought it was a skin cancer and that they needed to do a biopsy. So the biopsy they did was not the punch biopsy. It was a what do you call it? It was like a razor blade type thing that they just scraped and got a little deep, scraped the skin off, and sent it off. Now, sometimes if you've got a regular appointment, they would go ahead and do it there in the office and get it done that day. But they had a lot of patients in that day, so they decided to send it off, and then they would give me a call in a week or two to let me know what it found. So I went through that, waited and waited, and they told me in the meantime, keep Vaseline on my nose and put a Band-Aid on it until it heals. Well, that's been over a month ago, and you can plainly see what my nose looks like right now. It's kind of red, and it gets a little flaky. But anyway, it took 2 weeks for them to call me back. And when they called me back, they said, yes, it's definitely cancer, and that you're going to have more surgery. And what that means is they'll go in, they'll cut a thin layer off, they'll take it back, examine it, and see if there's any more cancer in that piece of skin. If it's not, they will just leave it alone and let it heal on its own. You know, I'll have to go back to the Vaseline and all that. Well, now, if it does not take it all in one little thing, little scrape, they will come back and they will do it again. And they will keep doing it. And you have to sit there in the office and wait for like 45 minutes for them to check that piece of skin that they cut off to see if they got all the cancer. If they did not get all the cancer, they will do it again. And it just depends on how deep it goes. And they talked to me a little bit about a Mohs surgery. And that means that if it goes very deep, they may have to take a flap of skin from my forehead or from the side of my face and wrap it around and sew it to my nose so it'll have a blood supply there, and it will grow, you know, and it will leave almost, by the time you get done, you won't have a very big scar. It will be so small you won't be able to tell much about it. So I'm hoping I don't have to go through that type of surgery. That one just depends on how deep it is. And so hopefully maybe 1 or 2 little scrapes, and that's all they've got to do. And I'll doctor it and go on my merry way. But now I have to worry about having cancer. And, you know, they said that after this, they already set me up an appointment for a 6-month checkup. And that's where they'll do a full body checkup. They'll look at every mole and everything on me to see if I have any more of those spots because of having cancer the first time. I mean, they told me it was 100% cancer. And for some reason right now, I cannot think of the name of the cancer, which when I think about it, I will tell you. But anyway, tomorrow, December the 4th, that is when I go back and I have another biopsy done. And so this will be a half one day and half another time before I put this video completely out, because I want to get it all on one video if I can. I want to show you what my nose looks like after I go tomorrow and they do another biopsy. So I'm the type of person that if I have cancer of any kind, get it out of me, get it gone. I do not want to lay around and cry, boo-hoo-hoo, I've got cancer. No, I want it taken care of. I don't want to wait very long. Because They said the type of cancer I have is a slow-growing cancer, and if I was going to have one, that's the kind I want to have because it takes longer, and you've got a little bit more, length of time to get rid of it. So that's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow I'm going to have another biopsy done, and I will put it on this video of what they did and what they told me, and so I can let you know. I mean, this is a little scary, yes. What hurt the most when they did the first biopsy was the very first shot. They put a shot in there, and the needle hurt, of course. It's in your nose. And then they put 2 or 3 little shots around it, and by that time, I was already getting numb. I could feel pressure when they moved my nose, but I didn't feel any pain. And it took about, I think it was an hour, maybe a little over an hour to get my feeling back. And that's what they'll do tomorrow too, is they'll give me shots in my nose to numb it, and then they'll take the biopsy out. So I'm not that afraid, because I know they said I didn't even need a driver. I could drive myself home, but my daughter's going to go with me just for moral support more than anything. So I'm going to go for now, and then I'm going to add tomorrow's video, or it may be the next day. I don't know when I'll put it out, but I'm going to add it to this one to let you know. And I wished I could think of the name of the cancer that I have right at the moment. It's like my mind went blank. It's not squamous cell carcinoma. It is a carcinoma, but it's not squamous cell because it grows faster. I just, for the life of me, cannot remember. Now, that's terrible when I'm putting out a video and I can't remember. But if I do remember, I will tell you what the name of it is. And thanks for watching. Hi, I'm back. I want to talk about my surgery that I had on my nose. And it was a basal cell carcinoma. And the doctor said that it would depend on how deep he went for how much skin they took off. And so the nurse numbed me up, and the doctor came in, and he started cutting in a round circle. Well, he got on one side, and when he started around to this other side, I could feel sharp. I could feel the knife. And I told him, I said, I feel something sharp. And he says, oh no. He said, we can't have that. Let's numb it up some more. So he gave me another shot. Now let me tell you, those shots hurt. And so he took that piece off, and he went pretty deep. If my daughter took some pictures, and if I can get the pictures from her, I'll show you. They're kind of graphic. And if you don't like blood or stitches, don't watch this. But anyway, they took that off, and they had us wait for 40 minutes in the waiting room. Well, in the room that he examined me in. And he told me I needed to be thinking about what kind of surgery I needed. He said, because we may have to do a skin graft, or we may have to just sew it up, or take a little extra to make a straight line. He said there are several ways that we can do this to look better. And he said lots of times if they do a skin graft, they'll take a piece from the front of the ear or behind the ear, because it's on the nose. That's where they'll put it. And I talked to you before about the other kind of graft that they could do. And he said, be thinking about it while we're got that piece of skin in the laboratory. So me and my daughter talked about it, and we decided, or I mainly decided, that I would rather have stitches than have a skin graft, because usually with the skin graft you have a white patch wherever they put it. And I mean, it grows, it's skin, but it stays white. So I opted not to have that. And So I decided for the stitches, and he said he would have to take like a V shape above the circle and below the circle, take skin out that way in order to close it evenly. And so he came back and he said, "Good news, we got it all." And I said, "Thank you, sir. That's what I wanted to hear." So he said, "Have you decided what kind of surgery, how you want to close it? Do you want a skin graft or do you want stitches?" And I said, "I want the stitches." And he said he felt that was the best one that I picked. He said, because usually you only have a little thin scar and you can cover that up most of the time with makeup, which I do wear makeup normally. I'm not today. I look like a hag, but you know, that's just the way it goes. But anyway, so he decided he would do, you know, how he would cut it, and he told me. So the bad thing about it was I had to wait 40 minutes before he came back, so some of my feeling was wearing off. So then they had to give me more shots to numb that area. And let me tell you, when you've got an open hole and then they go to numb it all up again, it hurts. I mean, it hurts pretty good. And so he did the surgery and he closed my nose up, and he said he thought that that would look good whenever it healed, and I was to keep Vaseline on it and keep a Band-Aid on it for 7 days, and if I wanted to, I could take the stitches out myself, or I could go to my local doctor and have him take it out, or I could come back to them and have them take it out. Well, we opted, me and my daughter, for her to take my stitches out in 7 days. And so I'm going to show you what my nose looks like. And if you don't like stitches, please, you know, look the other way. But I'm having to keep it bandaged. And I'm going to show you. He took more than I thought he was going to, because he went under here. But you see what I'm talking about. He took, you know, 1.5 inches worth of skin, basically. And I think I'll have a good outcome on that when it heals. But I have to keep a Band-Aid on it at all times until it heals. And it's hard putting a Band-Aid on your nose, let me tell you. So anyway, they got all the cancer. I'm happy they got the cancer. I'm happy I did the surgery. I'm happy that I went as early as I did, or it could have been a lot worse, because basal cell carcinoma, it grows down and it grows out. And so even though it's a slow growing cancer, you want to get it out as soon as possible. So he said I did the right thing by coming in early. So I mean, that's one thing I want to tell you. If you have a pimple that doesn't heal, or a sore that doesn't heal, or like mine, it was kind of a clear looking spot. It didn't really look that bad, and if I can figure out how to work my camera and stuff, I will put the picture in there of what it looked like before I went to the doctor, and what you've seen what it looks like now. And I will update you on when it starts to heal and when I get my stitches out. So be looking for that. And I want to thank you for joining me in my journey with this skin cancer. And come back and watch my results, because I'm going to post the results of my skin cancer. And the main thing I can say is, wear your sunblock. Make sure your little ones have sunblock on them anytime they're out in the sun, because I know this was caused from getting too many sunburns when I was a child. And plus, growing up in the 70s, we baked our skin in the sun. So, I mean, it's just, I figured I would get it one way or another. So, anyway, I'm going to go for now, and I'm going to try to get those pictures added probably in the end of this video, and then I'll be coming back and letting you see how it heals. But don't be afraid to go to the doctor. That's my main thing. Don't be afraid to go, because if you let it go, it gets worse. It doesn't get better. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe and check that notification bell so you can tell when I load up another video. And thank you. Thank you very much. God bless.